I made a video a while back on one of the easiest tweening programs out there to learn, in my opinion, and a lot of you found that video helpful, but a lot of you also had a ton of questions. That video is only a few minutes long, so this video is here to answer all those questions. Before I get started, this is only for PC. This is not mobile friendly, unfortunately. Now let's revisit how to separate your drawing properly for tweening, rigging, puppeting, whatever you want to call this animation technique. Start off with a sketch of the idle position for the animation. Remember not to draw anything in motion, it will make things look weird. After that, the actual separation. It's pretty hard for beginners to know what to separate and how to separate. Think, in my animation, do I want this part glued to this part? Do they overlap but they need to move in different ways? For example, I want the mouth to open and close in this animation. Can I do that easily with the push tool? Or should I instead make the bottom lip move when the mouth closes? That way the top lip doesn't get affected. Yeah, it's easier to just make the bottom lip move. Another important thing when it comes to separating is to draw the back of things and also extend the ends. This shrug my persona has wraps around her. One portion of it goes on top of her shirt, but the other portion goes behind her shirt. Make them separate layers and always go past where the lines meet to be safe. Here's everything I drew on separate layers, and here's a close-up of how I separate the eyes and mouth if you want them to move in your animation. Now, AnimeEffects. I found AnimeEffects a long time ago, but all I remember for the downloading process is that it's not for the weak. I watched these two videos which helped a lot, but I'm not sure if it's outdated. Please be careful when downloading this since you'll most likely have to download some other stuff, like an FFmpeg to get AnimeEffects to work. Once you finally get the software to miraculously open, here's how to start a new project. Everything from here on out is amazing, I promise. First, click New Project, set the max frame to 150, and then choose a source. The source can be a PSD file or a PNG. I use Clip Studio, and fortunately, Clip Studio can be saved as a PSD file, which helps automatically upload every layer for the animation. If you upload a PNG, you're going to need to know how to add all the other PNGs. Click Window at the top, Resources window, and then click File, Add Resource, and select the PNG. Then go to the layers and add an object and select the resource. Ta-da! Sometimes it gets added all the way in the back though, so make sure the depth is set to 0 or whatever you need the depth to be at. Label your layers if you haven't already. Now the keyframes. I want this to be a simple head bopping left to right animation, so I'll start with her head going down first. When there's movement going down, I like to stretch the object horizontally. When there's movement going up, I stretch the object vertically. AnimeEffects doesn't have parent layers, so when you make an adjustment, you have to do it to everything. But I found a way around this. Simply group certain parts together like the facial features with the head. Now adjustments are made on all the layers in the group. Another thing I recommend doing is changing the pivot point for the layers. The head doesn't move as much in this spot since it's connected to the neck, so I move the pivot point there. Now rotating the head looks a lot more natural instead of having to manually adjust the head to the right position. Even though we move the head down, does that mean that everything like the hair goes down the same way? No. Things that are closer to the front will move even more down, and things that are further all the way in the back will actually move up. It's pretty hard to explain this, but hopefully this drawing can better demonstrate it. You have what's to the front, what's in the middle, and what's all the way in the back. If the head slightly tilts down like in the animation, things like the nose and the mouth will move further down than the eyes. And then back here, the ponytail moves up. Applying this, I slightly move the front bangs down and then move the pigtails up. And the face was already moved down earlier when I stretched it. These are the keyframes for the head bopping. The chest also follows the same stretching and keyframes. Only difference is that the body rotates the opposite way from the head. The pivot point is also set to the head for the chest. Remember those eye and mouth layers from earlier? Here's how to put them to use. Scale the eyes until they become semi-squinted. Then use this tool and push the top lash halfway. Also push the lid itself to follow the lash. After that, you can set the opacity rate to 0 for both, and then set the opacity to 1 for the blinking layers. Make sure opacity is set to none and not linear. Copy and paste the earlier keyframes so that the eye opens. Here are the keyframes. For the mouth animation, scale the mouth till it's flat and hide it in the top lip. Move the bottom lip up. If you want to add some flair like me, you can make the mouth curl a bit more and slightly make the eyes squint to match the expression of the mouth. Here are the keyframes for both. The arms scale with the chest, but I make them sway a bit and also move them more to the side. Keyframes. The shrug. I use the liquify tool to push them a bit to the side for when they sway. That's pretty much it. Here are the keyframes and which way they sway. Time for the hair. It either makes or breaks the animation. Instead of using the liquify tool, we'll finally be using the bone tool. Liquify is for more slight nudges. The bone tool helps with things that have more curves or need to turn sharper. Add the structure and increase the area affected to cover the whole object. When the head goes up, the hair follows it and sways the same way. When the head drops, the hair continues to sway the same way, but with less intensity. Head goes up again Again, it sways the opposite way, then goes down and intensity drops. The bow on the shrug follows this same pattern, by the way. I delay the keyframes for things that have less weight to them since they fall slower. And that's it. I forgot to add that when you export your video, export it as an MP4 and make sure that the codec is H.264. This is the final animation. Like I said in my last video, AnimeEffects is for beginners. It doesn't have graphs or music that can be added since it's not meant to be overbearing. It's intended for much smaller use and practice. Once you get the basics, you can move on to other programs. A lot of people in my last video were recommending a light motion for beginners, but when I tried those, even those felt like too much. I figured other people felt the same, so that's why I made the original video and now a follow-up one. We reached the 10,000 subscriber goal. I have a special video in the making, so stay tuned for that. Check out my other socials. Like, subscribe, comment, but only if you want to. Also, check out another one of my videos. I like making entertaining content just as much as I like informative content. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye bye!